my name's Grace. I'm a community manager here at the Student Room. I focus in on the universities and career section of the site, so that's kind of my speciality. I used to work in universities before joining the Student Room, particularly in student recruitment, widening participation and marketing. So I have a little bit of understanding of kind of from your side, what clearing is like for you, and what results day is like for you. I used to work in a clearing call centre on the day and support, so completely understand the kind of situation everyone is in this year. What we're going to be doing today is running through what the Student Room is like on results day, and how we help during the clearing process, and how you can make the most of your official rep account. So what we'll do, here we go. Managed to get it to work. Excuse the kind of bright light on my face. For some reason, the room I'm in is very dark, so every time it changes colour, I'm going to go a nice different shade, a nice different hue. So we can all enjoy that today. Oh, it's not my day. Anyway, so when we leave by the end of the day, as I said, you'll learn how to make the most out of TSR in the context of COVID-19 and this time of year as well. We'll look at some key discussion threads, some different forums that you might find useful, and some different content as well that you might find useful to know about. We'll also let you know a little bit about when TSR staff are online to support you on the day, and how they support students and parents as well. And we'll also go through how to respond in the most positive and helpful way. If you've attended one of our rep training sessions before, run by my lovely colleagues Oscar and Mallory, they will normally teach you kind of like the tips and tricks on how to get the most out of a response and the kind of responses that people react well to. We'll be doing a similar thing today as well, going through some responses from the last few years that official reps have made during the clearing time, and look at the kind of best ways to respond. And also we'll go through what not to do. There are several different things that we see pop up every year that we want to run through and just make sure that we understand why that may not be the best way to engage with students, and the kind of reaction that they might give if you engage in a certain way with them during this time. It's a really stressful time, and add in a pandemic on top of that and cancelled exams, everyone will be pretty stressed out this year. So we're expecting a large number of students to come to us in kind of a lieu of not being able to get the face-to-face support that they may have been able to get previously. It's going to be difficult this year, and a lot of people will be really unsure on the whole process and how it works, as it will be different to previous years, just simply because of the pandemic. So we're going to need everybody to kind of be ready for the situation that we're in, but also to get the most out of it and make the most out of TSR for your institution. So we'll run through a little bit more information about kind of what forums are popular right now. If I keep looking this way, apologies, it's because my screen's right in front of me here, so I'm kind of reading and looking at you guys at the same time. So we've actually seen a really high engagement over the course of lockdown. We're seeing a lot of students coming on to talk about their different concerns, different worries, and also what may happen, and looking at predictions for September as well. That's a big thing that we've seen a lot of on site. As you can see here, in the last 7 days, and this is just in July, normally this time is a little bit quieter in terms of people who are normally on their school holidays. They're not too fast about coming on and talking about things at the moment. They're normally trying to get away from things, but we've seen a huge increase in the number of posters recently. So this is posts that we're looking at here. So the number of posts on site in that particular forum. Our medical school and medicine forums are up by huge amounts. So we were up 202% in the last 7 days in our medical forums. So a massive amount of conversation happening there. And our University Student Life Forum is up nearly 60% as well. So if you have a look into that forum, you'll see a lot of students talking about their experience of applying for university, and the experience that they're having with communicating with universities. Also, you'll see them talking about what they expect to happen in September. That's a big topic of conversation, as I mentioned, and just general concerns about being a student as normal. All the normal concerns are still there. So we're still looking at things like, how will I make friends? What's sort of moving into accommodation like? I'm worried about moving away from home. So all of those usual things are still there. We're seeing a lot more queries about student finance as well, so that's been up 53% in the last 7 days. And healthcare just in general, so nursing, midwifery and other allied health professions is up around 136%. So yeah, a lot of conversation happening around healthcare in general, which is a trend that I believe that also UCAS have seen in terms of applications. A lot more people looking at healthcare professions due to the pandemic and the situation we're in. We've also seen postgrad applications up 35%, so a lot of people considering postgraduate courses and looking into making an application. And as I said, kind of nursing and midwifery, again, really high in terms of the number of people posting in the forum. And yesterday, our medical schools posts were up 158%. Thank you, Ezra. I've just seen in the comments you're saying, will the slides be shared after the webinar? They will, so don't worry about making any notes. We'll share these after the webinar for you. So now looking at last year, and in terms of the kind of top discussions that we saw during the clearing period, so that's the week of clearing that we take this data from. So the most popular conversations that we saw were, again, medicine is always a popular topic on our site, but we were looking at what medical schools are in clearing. That was a very popular topic last year. And also people looking at the UCAT as well. So discussing UCAT and the 2020 entry, so people already getting ahead of themselves. We also saw law clearing places was a really popular topic too. And a just general support thread around universities already having exam results. So this was put up a couple of days before when you guys already received the results and you start processing. We have students chatting about how they're finding that experience, knowing that their kind of fate is decided, and how they feel about that, and just a place to vent and express themselves. A lot of people are incredibly nervous, and just having that space to talk about their nerves on site is really useful. We've also got a thread here that was really popular around advice to anybody who is considering resitting their A-levels from somebody who had resat their A-levels before, which again, we expect this to be an incredibly popular topic this year. Instead of resitting, obviously it's first sitting of exams and autumn exams and people considering that. So we expect to see similar topics of conversation again this year. Failing A-levels. Again, another topic of conversation. This, again, the way that the situation is this year with calculated grades, we expect to see, the normal national picture in terms of the grades that people will get, but there will be some, big success stories, and there'll also be some big, stories of people not getting the grades that they wanted, and by quite substantial amounts as well, we could see. So we might see a lot of these on site as well, and people concerned and worried about their future. We also have the I miss my grades, but I still got into uni thread, which is always a really popular thread on site around clearing. This is where people can celebrate the fact that even though they missed out on their grades, they still got into their firm choice uni, the university that they wanted to go to. And we normally get involved and celebrate with them. So this is a great thread, and I'll make sure that it's available to everybody when it's set up again this year to just get involved and congratulate anybody who's got their place. We also have a university place still showing as conditional, and this one was for 2 days. Somebody's place was still showing as conditional after results day. And that obviously caused a little bit of worry, and other people were also experiencing the same thing. So this is where people were chatting about the different options that they can look at when their place is still showing as conditional. So now looking at this year, what students are kind of reading at the moment. So one of the popular articles is Top 10 Tips for Clearing 2020. So that is something that people are already considering. We're seeing a lot more people talking about clearing a little bit earlier this year. We believe this is because just there hasn't been kind of the usual structured school year. People are talking about things a little bit earlier. They have that time to research a little bit earlier. A summer is not really a summer in the same way as it used to be, where people kind of forget things a little bit. So we're seeing people researching and getting involved in clearing opportunities already and just understanding the situation a lot more. So we're seeing that as a popular article. We also have an article out at the moment, which is really popular. It was only released yesterday, in regards of university students' kind of coronavirus safety fears on campuses opening in September. People are really interested to see how campuses are going to work in September, and what that will mean for not only their teaching and learning, but their social life as well. So again, a really popular topic that people are reading about. We're also seeing a lot of information being kind of requested around GCSE and A-level exams in 2021. Pushing ahead even further, so the year 12s have been a particularly active group on site at the moment. This is because they are a little bit of a forgotten group. There is quite rightly a lot of attention on GCSE students, so the year 11s and the year 13s at the moment, because they are kind of the most affected by it in the initial stages. But actually, we'll see that the year 12s may be impacted in a much a much more delayed way. There will be a lot of confusion when the pandemic kind of does its peaks and troughs, and different situations will be happening. Articles around that are doing particularly well at the moment, and the year 12s are engaging really well at the moment. So that's why those two articles are very popular. And in terms of what students were reading in August 2019, one of our most popular articles was just when is A-level results day. We had nearly 60,000 views on that, so people wanting to know when it is, what the general do's and don'ts of results day are, what to expect. So it just shows that even though you may think that like everybody would know and understand when that is, actually that's not always the case, and that means that sometimes we do just have to put things out in layman's terms for a lot of students. A lot of students may not understand things in the same way. We also have these are the most popular A-level subjects in 2019, so the ones that most people were entered for in terms of exams. People are always really interested in that. And then A-level results day live blog that we do, which is something that we do every year, where we kind of update on grade boundaries, clearing opportunities, how things are going on the day, all that kind of stuff. And that was a really popular article again during August. So now looking at COVID-19 results and clearing, it's a difficult one. I think we're all expecting it to be a little bit more difficult. Obviously, the situation that everybody is in, everyone is prepping hard to make sure that clearing is as smooth as possible, even with remote working, and wanting to do the best for students. But it is a hard time, and students just want a little bit of honesty and clarity quite often, and just a bit of communication, even if there's nothing that you can update them on that's even good news. Just that communication is really important. We're seeing a lot of students come to us saying that they're finding it really difficult to get hold of a university by email or through the phone lines. And so that means that there's quite a lot of confusion around what universities are doing. So we've seen that the more information you can give people, the better. And this is why the student room is such a great place to use your kind of information and knowledge and put that out there, because we say this every rep training, but for every person that sees it, there'll be hundreds of other, every person that posts them, there'll be hundreds of other people that are seeing it as well. So that means that your kind of information can reach far and wide. So trying to give as much information as you possibly can is really important. They'll want to know things like provision plans and understand how accommodation, learning, Freshers Week will all work before accepting clearing offers for students who are looking at you via clearing. So having that information to hand and easily accessible is important. The calculated grade process, as I said, is going to look pretty similar, but individual cases where high and low grades are achieved will mean that there will be a lot more support needed on the day. So we will see some real highs and lows, and that will mean that there will probably be quite a lot of panicking on site from the people who've received much lower grades, because there's nothing they can do in terms of appealing. So their options are a little bit limited in that scenario. So it's just about remembering that you need to be a calming presence on site for these students as much as possible, and try and give them the facts and give them as much honesty as you can to try and keep them as calm as possible. So supportive, friendly, helpful conversations will be needed on site. Essentially, we will be like advisors to those young people. So from our end, we're preparing from that, and we hope from your end, when using TSR, that you can kind of adopt those principles as well. So some super helpful links for results day, and as I said, we are sending these slides around, so you don't have to worry about these. These are all hyperlinked, so you can get to them really easily. We have our 2020 clearing and adjustment frequently asked questions, which we run every year. It's always a good one to have a look through. They're quite often our students talking about their concerns or issues or questions around clearing and adjustment that may be interesting for you to have a read or maybe even get involved with. So do definitely have a look at that. Obviously, Clearing Plus has been introduced this year by UCAS, so that's something to consider in terms of we will probably see a lot of conversations around that on site and trying to understand what matching means and whether they will get any kind of contact from university. So we have a Clearing Plus FAQ, and you may see that there are topics of conversation coming up in there which may relate to your institution that you might want to get involved in. We also have a forum called Coronavirus, the Impact on Schools and Exams. A lot of conversations happening in there surrounding what's happening in September, what's happening with the impact of coronavirus on a variety of different things. So worth a look always. We're also running a TSR Answers session, which is our live video chat session on the week before results day and the day before results day with panelists from a variety of different places, including UCAS. So TSR Answers is a great way to kind of see what's going on, see the kind of questions that people are putting forward. So I'd recommend having a look at that forum and getting involved again if you would like to. We have our A-level BTEC forum again. They'll be quieter than they normally are, but in terms of people talking about their grades, you'll still see the conversations happening here. University Life, as I mentioned, is a really good forum to keep an eye on to get an understanding of the kind of questions people have before coming, so pre-enrollment, so always worth a check. Applications Clearing and UCAS is the kind of classic forum where all of the conversations will go surrounding clearing most likely, and issues, so do keep that one in your bookmarks. That one's really useful to have. And we have an all forum list as well, so you can have a look through there, see if there's anything else that you'd like to keep an eye on. If you have any particular subjects or courses, for example, that you want to keep an eye on and support with more, potentially that's your speciality, then it's always worth having a look through the forum list and seeing if there's anything that relates specifically to you. Amazing. So making the most of TSR on the day. So it's really important to try and balance your time between responding to current applicants and also 2021 applicants. You'll see that the conversation can mix between the two quite easily. So the more that you're posting on site, remember to not forget those 2021 applicants. They'll still be there, they'll still want that support. And as I mentioned, those year 12s are incredibly engaged at the moment, and you're likely to see a conversation happening between the 2021 applicants and yourselves, so making sure that you don't forget about those, as well as keeping in contact with the year 13s that have more immediate questions. So as I said, the more you post on site between now and results day, the more visible you are, and the more that people understand that you're there if they need any support or questions. Quite often when we're on site, myself and our volunteer team will see that there are questions relating to certain institutions. Wherever we will try and tag you into those questions so that you will receive a notification and you can have a look and see whether that's something that you can support with. If we're tagging you in, it normally means that we've established that they need some support from somebody who works at that institution, so that's when we'll tag you in. So keep posting, keep looking for conversations to get involved in. I know that so many of you are, which is fantastic, but you want to be visible on site so people know that you're there. So when it comes to results day, you're easily kind of findable, and people can tag you in to questions when they know that they need your support. So in terms of being there on site to create a kind of space for you to talk about clearing, getting a clearing thread set up kind of as soon as possible is really important. I know a few of you have done that, which is amazing, and thank you so much for doing that. In terms of getting that set up, as I said, my colleagues Oscar and Mallory, they're known as Maple Leaf and Snow Princess 7 on site, will have spoken to you in your official rep feedback thread about getting this clearing thread set up. It's really important to get this set up as soon as you can. If you haven't got this set up by the end of next week, I will be starting to make these threads for you. So it's really important that we get this done. It's always better if it comes from the official rep rather than myself. My name is Strawberry Dreams on site. Sorry, I didn't say that earlier. But if you see me making that thread, it's because we have a mega thread, which I'll show you in a moment, of all the different clearing threads, so people can find you really easily and know that's where they can ask questions and get support from an official representative. So it's really important to make that thread. You can also consider creating a thread in your forums with tips on how you kind of handled the run up to results day itself. So asking for any feedback, essentially. People will be more than happy to support with that if you want them to kind of give you a little bit of an understanding on how you're doing. And congratulating students that mention you and that starting in September is really important. It may seem that it's a little bit of a less important task on the day when there are questions obviously coming in which are kind of urgent and you want to get there, but even dedicating just 5 minutes within every hour to just going through and congratulating as many students as you can, especially those that mention you and that are coming to you in September, is really important and just shows that you're a supportive and friendly and helpful presence on site. So in terms of supporting applicants and parents, we have our trained volunteers on site. So you'll see them, they have a red user title that will say Clearing and Applications Advisor. They've undergone UCAS training to take them through the process and how it works and have a full understanding of clearing itself. And they are there to support. So if you see those people on site, do say hello. They're very friendly, and they are trying to be there as a kind of support network for as many students as possible. Also, TSR staff, we're online on results day eve all the way to midnight. You then get up again pretty early, around 6 AM, to be on site again for when track opens and the embargo lifts. So obviously the embargo is changing this year. So at 8 AM, that is when track will open, and that is when students will be able to see whether they have been accepted or not. So it's really important, obviously, that this embargo isn't breached at all, but we will see students on site kind of questioning why they aren't seeing anything yet. So we'll be online from 6 AM to kind of quell people's worries a little bit and let them know that it's completely normal that they won't be able to access it until 8 AM. We then remain online until about 10 PM. So we do have a rota, so there will be people that are online throughout the day. There will be people who are online in kind of dribs and drabs, but there will always be somebody online until around 10 PM, sorry. And we also provide support over Twitter and Facebook as well. So how do we support you? So this year, we keep an eye out for any questions that may relate to you that you might have missed. So as I said, when we try and tag you into anything, and so quite often students will say, I'm trying to talk to this university about clearing, or a university about clearing for this subject, but I can't get through, or I want to ask them about this particular question, I don't know how to do it. But they might not actually mention the university, or they might do it in a strange way that means that you might not pick it up. So when we see anything like that, we will tag you in so that you don't miss anything. And this helps ensure that you respond with anyone who is a prospective applicant or anybody holding offers. So in terms of contact details for us, myself, Mallory and Oscar will be the people that you can get a hold of on the day if you have any questions. So tag us into your official rep feedback threads, or you can email us. It's always better to try and get hold of us through the site, especially myself. I'm on the site all day, so I'm more likely to see a notification on site than I am an email, especially on results day. So do just tag me in if you have any issues. So we'll now look at some kind of examples of good responses and why they're good responses. So what makes them a response that people will engage with. So first of all, as I mentioned, we have our clearing opportunities threads that we were encouraging you all to make. So you can see here, University of Brighton have made it. I always have the little 9 cat at the end, so I like to include this one. This is a little bit of information here. So you can see here, it just gives a contact number, when main clearing will open. You can find out more about the clearing options here with a hyperlink, and any questions you can contact with information and a hyperlink to contact there. So if you can as well, it's always useful to include any information about COVID-19 updates, or if you have a COVID-19 update thread on site to link the two of them together, put a hyperlink in there to it so people can see that. That will be a topic of conversation that comes up this year, so it's important to try and kind of provide as much information upfront as you can. So linking through to that thing is helpful. So this is our main clearing thread. Now this is where I break everything, almost certainly. Maybe not. Here we go. So this is our clearing thread. So you can see here that we have big old mega thread where we list everything and split it all out. You can see here when you press in, all of these different universities have already created a thread, and it will link out to that thread. So when you've made your thread, please tag us in, and then we can add you to this mega thread just here. So now, having a look at some of the kind of examples of good responses. So here you can see somebody has got a question where they're asking about 2 different universities, which one is better. We'll have a look at the thread in a moment, but they're essentially just asking kind of the usual questions about what's going on, what's the social life like, what's more welcoming, and universities both got involved. So we'll see here, excuse me, dragging the internet page over. It's just, it won't work any other way, so apologies for me dragging things back and forth. But as you can see here, Goldsmith then got involved and made a really great post, just being really supportive, showing that they had different opinions as well, you know, lots of different options here. And then Queen Mary also getting involved and just being super supportive. And I love the use of an emoji. It just makes it feel a little bit more kind of, you're speaking in their language. They love an emoji on site, so it just makes it feel a little bit more personal, and also just providing lots and lots of different information about why they like the city and why they like the campus, and showing different sides, and it's a really great example. And then they're also getting involved and just having a little bit of a laugh, a little bit of banter. It's really nice to see, and just showcasing that they're putting it in the applicant's hands, and they know that they're going to make the right decision. And it's just a great example of a nice way to respond to somebody, even when they're comparing 2 different universities. And really sorry, they're just emptying the bins outside my flat if that's a really loud noise. It's not my day. So that's a good one to have a look at. And as I said, all of these are hyperlinks, and you can have a look at all of these examples in your own time as well. Now, having a look here, somebody was asking a question around courses in clearing. So they responded, again, using names, which is important, and using information around helping the applicant make a plan. So putting, saying I can put you in touch with the accommodation team. This is their email. Let me know if there are any more questions or queries. Just showcasing that you're there to speak to if they need the support. They may not need it at that moment, but they may come back to you at a later date or on results day itself, and say, hey, you asked if I could ask you any questions, and now I actually have those questions, and I can come to you. So turning now going into having a look at a post that Liverpool Hope did here. Essentially, somebody was saying that they were having difficulty in clearing. They couldn't find accommodation yet, or even get a student loan. They didn't think they would be accepted. They applied on a whim. And so Liverpool Hope here helped students with the process. So again, tagging that person in and also quoting that person. So that means that that person will get a notification that they have received a response to that post, which is really important for them seeing your reply. You can then say, try not to worry. Stated you're interested in accommodation while applying, you will be contacted, so that they don't have to panic and think, oh, who do I need to contact? How do I do it? Clearing up their worries. Also saying all first year students guaranteed accommodations. That should be a load off your mind for the time being. It's really practical advice here that they're giving, which is really important. The more practical the advice you can give, the better. The more clear, honest, transparent advice you can give, the better. But being reassuring at the same time. Sometimes it's not always good news that you can give a student, but just being as reassuring as you can and as friendly as you can when delivering this information is important, and trying to express what's important for them to do ASAP, and what's something that you can kind of leave a little bit later. So making sure that you prioritize things and give a really practical understanding of what's important. Some students may not understand that, so making sure that they understand what's important here. So you can see with student finance, you would need to start this process as soon as possible, so they know that that's the thing that they need to worry about for the moment. Accommodation is sorted, but student finance, they need to get on that. And also making it clear that they're happy to answer more questions. So now looking at somebody who rang, clearing up 3 different times and had 3 different responses. So somebody looking to get back into studying, they're asking a question around the courses that they're applying for, saying that they were having different experiences with different people on the phone lines. They're really unsure on what to do. They don't know if they can keep calling because they've had this conflicting advice. So they want to know what their options are at this point. They feel like they've exhausted their options on the phone. And so this is where the university came in. So, as I said, this is the question here. And so Aston coming in, asking some questions, which is really important, and trying to get a little bit more information. They have given you a little bit of information here, but not enough for somebody to make an informed answer. So Aston have done a great job here by asking for some more information. And here there are options that they are putting forward to them and saying, if you don't want to move, you don't want to go here, options are limited, but there are other options here. And it's not to do with Aston particularly, but they are just being supportive on site, which is amazing. And then John Moore's coming in and just being a little bit of a human here, which is something that I really liked. And just saying, there are lots of information that you can come back to that person and talk to them if they have any issues or queries, or they're just considering it. This person then comes back and says they don't even know where to start looking, and then Aston come back and saying check out this list of unis, which is the UCAS course search, and just being as supportive as they possibly can. And the 2 different reps here are keeping it lighthearted, making sure that people just understand the situation, they understand that there are lots of different things happening, and just being really supportive during the day, which is exactly what we're looking for from a rep. So next question that came up was around somebody who wasn't feeling very well during the exam period, and was having some issues around that time that caused them to not get the grades they were looking for. This may come up in this year, but not in terms of exam results, but more in terms of I have no idea what happened. My predicted grades were doing well, and now they are not the grades that I've actually received. Really confused, really unsure, finding it difficult to get through to people on the phone, finding it difficult to speak to somebody face to face. We'll probably see a lot of conversations like this where an answer like this is really important. So you can see here straight away Loughborough empathises with the applicant. It says, I'm so sorry to hear that. That must be really disappointing, but try and stay positive. And just offering just a little bit of human to human advice and just going, look, you know, you'd be surprised what happens. They're encouraging, they normalize the experience. And it's just a really supportive post and something that is a great one for Results Day itself. And we'll see a lot of posts like this, just being as supportive as you possibly can. Even if it doesn't relate to you and your university, and it's just somebody that you see and you think, oh, I could help that student, and they need that support from somebody who is an official rep, somebody who knows what they're talking about in terms of process as well. That's something that people will be looking out for on the day. Again, we have somebody here who was looking for some advice from for their friend. So somebody saying that they're not sure what to do. He got really bad results. You could just see there he came out with 2 E's and a U. He's gutted, but A-levels, you know, aren't for everybody, as they were saying, and there are lots of different options. So they wanted to go to university, that person's friend, and they weren't able to with the results that they had. And you can see here that trends are really reassuring, and they've gone, okay, right, university might not be for you. 2 E's and a U, that's grades that are unlikely to get accepted anywhere. So it's important to look at the different options and just doing lots of different things in there in terms of not how encouraging them to rush any decisions, being just supportive, showcasing that there are different options, and just showing that Trent is a university where you go, okay, they understand that there is more than just going to university, and that it might not be for everybody, but here's different options that can support them. And so a great option from the Trent rep here. So in terms now of somebody asking about, do A-levels grades matter now that I have my university place? That was essentially the questions there. They've met their firm, they're going to university, will future employers look at their A-level results? Ask them come in, getting some really great advice. So, you know, CVs, chain of succession, you complete your degree, A-level is less important. And just like putting things into perspective for that person. It's straightforward, it's honest, it's reassuring, just a great way of responding to somebody who's just really concerned. We'll see a lot of people going, oh, you know, I got in, I got in my place, but actually my grades weren't what I wanted them to be. We'll see that quite a lot this year, most likely. So questions like this will come up, and this kind of example of a response is a great one to look at if you're looking at responding to a similar question. Now here we had a situation where there was a mistake that happened at Kingston University, and we were made aware of it on site, and we tagged in the rep, and Kingston were fantastic here. So they took away the question that happened, and they then said, okay, what can we do to support the student, taking it off site, having to have that conversation, sort out that person's issues, but then coming back onto the student room, updating everybody else who was supporting them. So this post was about, this thread, sorry, was about 4 or 5 pages long of people trying to support the OP when they were, sorry, when I say OP, I mean original poster, so the first poster, with any issues that they may have had with the whole process, and as they were going back and forth, and Kingston coming back on and being kind of honest, grateful, humble, and just saying, look, you know, we did make mistakes happen, and that's normal during a really stressful period like this as well. You know, mistakes are really normal, and it's just coming back and owning that, complimenting the community for supporting that student, and just being a human being, which is something that we forget with online communication a lot. We forget that there are humans behind it. We just see writing on a page and we want to respond to that writing, but trying to understand where that person has come from, where the people supporting that person are coming from, and just thanking them for keeping them informed, and just giving a little bit of information about how it was resolved, and then it was resolved, so people don't look at that and then think, oh, I wonder why, I wonder what happened there. Then they kind of close that feedback loop. So now looking at helping gap year applicants, or potentially people who want to defer this year. That is something to consider. There's been a lot of chat in the media around deferrals, kind of swirling up into something a little bit bigger than potentially it may be. But there is something to consider here with deferrals. We may find that on results day that more people decide to defer simply because if there's not the option that they wanted for going in September. That could be something that we see. Again, everything is really unknown at the moment. We've still got a month to go. Everything can change in a month, as we all know. So it's just about keeping on top of these things and looking for trends. Again, we can help you with that. Have any questions around this thing, these kind of things, anything that you're seeing on site, you want to have a little bit more understanding, just ask us. We're more than happy to support with that kind of thing. So do just let us know if you have any questions. You can see here that Bradford were helping support somebody who was on a gap year and asking a question about just what it's like to go to that university. They're saying that they're giving all that kind of information around the course itself and talking about virtual experiences and how they found it, really detailed requirements, but it's really informative as well. So this is a way that you can respond to somebody with lots of detail and being really informative, but still being friendly and using that in a really nice way. So, you know, it can be difficult sometimes to kind of find that balance. They do it really well here, and also using their name at the end so that somebody can refer back to that person is really great. So again, here somebody asking which universities will accept their grades. So they didn't get the grades that they were looking for. They're reconsidering their options. They're looking again at resitting and trying again, and what university courses they could go on to if they pass their A-levels next year. They gave their subjects as well. And Trent came in and provided really genuinely helpful advice. They're asking questions again, so if there's not enough information within that initial post, ask a question, get them to come back to you and get them to engage with you, give you more information so that you know that you're giving the right response and you aren't having to be purposefully vague because you're unsure of exactly their situation. You want to give them the most helpful advice as possible. So ask the questions and make sure that you are supporting them in the right way. They then give them some advice on how to start the process as well. And they're just generally reassuring and supportive. Something that you'll hear me bang on about again and again and again as we go through this. It's really important. Just being generally understanding that people are going to be panicking on the other end of these questions, most likely. We do see that quite often, a lot of panicking behind the scenes. Things may be written really quickly, people unsure of what they need to do next. And just being that calming, reassuring, supportive presence on site means that they can read your posts and kind of feel a little bit more relaxed, which is just what we want to do on the site. Somebody asking about the fact that they had their place and they would like to change their course. Being honest here, Loughborough, saying it might be a little late to do that. And it's okay to give bad news on site and say, like, look, this might not be possible. And setting expectations early as well, rather than saying, oh, you never know, give us a call and we'll let you know, so that you can potentially have a bit of a chat and try and change their mind on the phone. By being honest with them up front, they'll appreciate that a lot more, and it means that they don't have to worry about kind of going through a whole process only to find out that it was never possible at the beginning. So Loughborough being really useful here. You know, they are saying that you can try emailing, but they are really busy, and they might not be able to get back to you, and it might take a while for a response. Setting expectations early, really, really important, and providing the contact details in a really clear, easy way to understand and use as well. Somebody asking about why their UCAS hasn't updated, and Sari coming in here and being really helpful. They're outlining the steps an applicant might need to take to submit additional results. There is somebody having trouble getting through, and they might need to provide extra information. Letting them know when the live chat is, what they will be able to ask. And giving them information that means that they can actually get prepared for that call as well. So preparing a student for coming to speak to you face to face means that will save you time in the long run on the phone call, and it will also help support that student in the beginning. And providing contact details as well, so that students can get through really easily after they've read the post. It's fantastic. So They were all the examples. There were some really fantastic responses, and as I said, all of those are hyperlinked, so when you have the presentation and have a look through, you can click through onto any of those examples and take a look for yourself as exactly how the conversation laid out. I'm just conscious of time, so that's why I didn't go through them all individually, and only went through a couple kind of in the thread. But if you have a look through them, that will give you more information about context as well, which was really useful. We're going to take a really quick look at what not to do. So for example, somebody here saying, currently undecided between these two, holding an insurance offer for mathematics and computer science, but I have a clearing offer for X at computer science, for computer science. X is ranked higher overall and higher international rank than X. So essentially comparing two universities, undecided on what to do. They're holding an insurance offer, but they have a clearing offer. How would you respond to this? And so this is a response that we have seen previously fairly often, and saying kind of like, we might be a little biased that X is absolutely brilliant. We're currently X and Y in the league tables, X student satisfaction rating. And then also we see quite often someone going, I did this and studied this for this amount of years. We did this, this, and this. And let us know if there's anything else. And it's very cut and paste. And quite often we'll see these responses kind of going around the site as it's kind of cut and paste and then slightly adapted to fit in with that particular person's query. It comes across as cut and paste, and that kind of initial kind of starting point of, we might be biased, but this is why we're great and this is why we're amazing. The student didn't ask like about social life, but they're including information about it because you understand that that might be a question that they'll ask later on, and you're trying to preempt that, but actually it means that they're a bit confused and it reads a little bit like an ad. And so looking at their query, reading their query and going, right, what are they actually asking? How can I help with that? So they're just saying that they're undecided. Maybe in this situation, it's best to ask them what they value and what's important to them, and how, and then once you've asked them what they value and why that's important, you can then respond to those values with the correct information about matching those values to information that you're able to give. And that's how you would answer a question like that. Normally, you don't want it to read like an ad, you don't want it to read like a cut and paste response. You want to be asking questions, get more information out of that student and respond accordingly. We then have somebody here who was saying, for example, I worked really hard this year, I failed in the past, I had extenuating circumstances, for example, things like a bad college, a dysfunctional home life, illness, death, and family. That may be something that comes up as well fairly often this year, unfortunately. There might be different impacts that are affecting decisions. And mental health issues as well. That will be something that we may see a little bit more of this year, unfortunately. Things are not perfect, they worked hard, they still failed. Obviously, there is a sense of disassociation this year that will certainly come around from the fact that they will not necessarily be blaming themselves for the situation, but the actual process for the situation, and I'm feeling angry at that and angry a little bit at the world for the situation that they're in. Somebody here then potentially would respond to, have you considered doing a foundation year? We can give our clearing hotline a call on this. There's no acknowledgement of the difficulties that person has gone through. It doesn't show any empathy or compassion or understanding of that situation. It's an ad, essentially, to get somebody to give them a call on a clearing hotline. And you're not asking any questions about what they actually want. And that's what we want to do. We want to tease out what that student wants and how we can support them with getting what they want. And so it's really, again, important not to copy and paste anything. It's important to make sure that you're asking questions before you give any information around clearing hotlines, courses, making sure that it's the right thing that you're responding to. And acknowledging if people are finding things difficult as well. That's really, really key. Even if it's just a sentence to say, that sounds really difficult, I'm sorry that happened, or I can't imagine how difficult that is for you right now. And then giving information. That acknowledgement will mean so much, and it means that they're feeling heard and they're feeling understood. So making sure to do that is important. Now, one thing that we do see as well every year are preparing for your arrival emails or something similar, where this person here said that they received an email from their dream university saying preparing for their arrival, which said to sign up to the student guild or the student union, make sure accommodation's sorted, make sure you bring X, Y, and Z, but actually nothing about the fact if they got a place or what that means. They're holding a conditional offer, so they would never expect that anyway, but they might think, oh, maybe somebody has been given my grades earlier, or maybe they know already and it's an accidental email and they shouldn't have sent it now, but they'll send it later and that means I got it. It's quite often not the case, and it's literally just a preparing email. It's horrible for someone to receive that. You wouldn't want to send that email and receive that email. For example, if you were applying for a course yourself, applying for a job, and you received an email that said preparing for your arrival at X job, and it turned out that it was giving you more information about what it's like to work there, but it's not actually letting you know that you're working there. It doesn't build rapport, creates stress. They've gone through a really tough experience and they're waiting out for A-level results day. It's just not a good practice. And putting yourself in the shoes of that person means that you can understand how they feel if you get an email like that. So posting on the student room, you can use search for latest questions. So for example, you can click the date for the latest questions, and you can use the filter bar to search questions and conversation around your university and your courses. You can use search alongside receiving your alerts, and it means you just don't miss anything, which is really important. But if you haven't set up your keyword alerts, get in touch with us through client services and we'll be able to get that sorted for you. But using search is a great way to just keep a track of what's going on. Any other admin that's here with this as well to do with your forum. If you'd like a post pinned or any kind of thread pin, contact us in your chat, in your private rep forum, and we'll be able to support you with that. Let us know which one it is and send us a link to the thread and we can get that sorted for you. If there are any incidents of trolling, so that's somebody kind of being a pain, making a lot of problems, let us know. Hit the report button above the post. If you're unsure on what the report button is, I'll just show you here. So this one here, click that button and it will take you to this thing here and let us know what's going on, why this is a concern for you, and we can take a look at that. We respond to reports fairly quickly, usually within 6 to 12 hours, always within 24. So any problems, let us know. We usually can get to it a little quicker as well. Setting up your seasonal threads too is important. So applicant threads, clearing threads, open day threads, and advanced, clearly label them. If you're unsure on what to call them, let us know. We can help you with that. We can give you titles which are kind of great for SEO, so people finding it just generally through Google, but also for the site as well. Always include your university or institution name within it. So we see quite often people posting things like clearing 2020, which is great. But when it comes up in latest discussions, for example, so that's that bar at the side which shows all the conversations that are happening at the moment, quite often they don't know what university it is. It just says clearing 2020. They're not sure where to go. So make sure you include your institution name within the title. And you can always come and chat to us within your private thread. And again, we've hyperlinked that there for you if you're unsure where it is, but you need to be logged in to see it, as it's private and nobody else can see it on the site. If you need any extra help, we have a lot of official rep resources on TSR Matters, and I think Marissa or Katie has just linked to that within the chat as well, and there's hyperlinks here too, so if you want to have a look. You can run additional bespoke training. Just talk to your account manager if you need anything important. We can support you as much as possible. If there are changes in staff, students, let us know and we can support with an official rep handover, making sure that everybody understands exactly how to use the rep. And if you have an idea or sense checking anything, you want to share it with us, make sure that we can give you some ideas, make sure it's the right tone of voice, we can give you some pointers. Let us know, just send us anything, we're more than happy to help. And that's it from me. If you guys have any questions, I know that there have been some in the chat already. I haven't been responding to them directly, but I'll just take a quick look through the Q&A. Now I realise that we are bang on 11, so sorry about that. My terrible internet troubles at the beginning cost us some time, but if you'd like to say and ask the question, please do. Someone here, Danielle, has asked, what was the red symbol to distinguish trained UCAS volunteers on the day? So underneath their username, so for example, I'll just show you here. I don't think we have a rep here, but essentially here where it says official rep, instead of saying official rep, it will be written in red. It will say clearing and applications advisor, so that you can clearly see the user title, and that's just to distinguish them so that you know who they are. So I hope that helps. Cool. Anybody got any other questions at all? Please use the Q&A, please use the sidebar. If not, it was fantastic to speak to you all. I hope you all have a really great day today. I hope this was useful. Any questions, as I said, do just come and chat to us. We're really happy to help. So any support we can give you, just let us know.